Hey YouTube, Mochismo Eugene. Another video. This one is titled Silence Speaks Volume. Your silence speaks volumes. Let me adjust the camera. Just kind of chop my head off. Okay. I'm using a different phone today, so forgive me. This one just sits better in the ring light. And yeah, we'll get through it. Your silence speaks volumes. When you're dealing with the narcissist. And just like I'm videoing right now, there are other tenants in the building. So as opposed to other videos, I can't, or I choose not to speak at a high volume. So I'm going to use a moderate volume. And you empaths and chosen ones know that some of this top secret stuff, we're airing it out, but we can't, out of wisdom, we don't speak openly and candid on the streets. We don't even speak candidly to some of our closest friends about this, because guess what? They don't understand. They don't get it. And some of them will even tell you. They will say, yeah, I've heard of that. And they'll even mention it before you mentioned it. And be careful with that too, because when you have people mention because when they mention it, they won't mention it in the context of narcissistic personality disorder. Now, that's the first sign that they don't know what they think they know. And what you're not supposed to do is you don't cater that conversation. You just let them talk. And to the degree that you find out how much they know about it will determine if, in fact, you should, divulge anything as far as what you know about it. Because I've seen it all in just the 3 years I've been awakened. I've seen people who I've been involved with, both intimate, romantically, whatever you want to say, socially, you name it. I've seen them, come in as seemingly decent human beings, all to find out that they were the very thing that I've awakened from. And I'm sure you guys can attest to that too. With that being out of the way, your silence speaks volumes to and with the narcissist. Take an example, workplace, which I'm going to talk a lot about the workplace, because I know a lot of us who have came out of relationships of different sorts, or even other workplace relationships and family dynamics where you've dealt with these monsters and you've gotten some space between you and that dark spirit, and you're healing, and you're growing, and you're glowing, and you end up getting in situations, whether it be workplace, other interactions, other endeavors, business partners, and you run right smack dab in the middle of this whirlwind of sorts again. The difference in before and now going through it, you can see a lot of visuals by way of the body language and the verbiage from these people. And some would say, yeah, you can't judge everybody that way. You can't look at everybody that way. And you guys know what I say. Everyone's a narcissist to me until you're not. You're going to have to disprove that, including me. I daily disprove the fact that I'm not a narcissist. And I say that jokingly, but in all sincerity, in a healthy way. It's not hypervigilance, because you'll come out of the hypervigilance stage if you're really growing healthy and you're growing appropriately, taking your time, doing the work that you need to do on your inner self, spending time by yourself, getting out in nature, like my buddy Denzel Moss says, and a lot of other creators are saying, get out into nature, become one with the earth. And you'll find out that some people are so superficial. Even a walk in the park for some of these people is boring. It's a chore. Meet a girl, go around the park, you want to just go out for a walking, talk, meet and greet, you'll find out that they will complain a million times probably on the second walk, some even on the first meeting. They will start talking about their feet hurt, this, that, and the other, because they're on a time constraint. They're not really concerned about getting to know you. They're just trying to connect and contaminate their existence into your life. You know, they're moving salesmen. Once they make the deal and seal the deal with you, they're off to somewhere else. They're oh, I forgot I had an appointment. That kind of thing, because they've secured you. So they have a play date with probably 4 or 5 supplies. Like you wake up and you plan your day to do different things and chores. Narcissists wake up and they plan their day as far as how many sources of supply they are going to garner on any given day. Now, your silence going into these new workplace that I just mentioned, your silence, first off, obviously, you're going to have an insurmountable amount of attention put on you. Say you and a handful of other people endeavor the same job, newbies, if you will. You will be the one that is singled out. You will be the one that seemingly is getting all the attention and the adoration, and you're just going to stand out. But as an empath, you're so healthy. You don't really want this kind of stuff. You're not put off by not having anyone acknowledge you. But mind you, that silence draws people to you. And not to mention about if you're vocal like I am and you speak and you're somewhat articulate and you can make a point and you can stay on topic, you have a healthy conversation or a genuine, authentic conversation. This appeals to the narcissists. They want to be able to speak like you, act like you, present themselves like you. So they mimic and they mirror you. So now that answers the question why they're drawn to you, because they're trying to, almost like your smartphone. Let's use that as an example. You have, hold on, I think I have an important call here. I may have to stop this and continue. Hey YouTube, I forgot where I was. That was probably a half-hour conversation. It was very important, but this is equally as important. I was just talking about your silence speaks volume when you're dealing with the monsters. And so, what I was saying, you get to this new job, workplace, or even on a team of a sports team, it could happen. It's all facets of life, whether it's groupings, or they can even single you out in just a one-on-one capacity, but it definitely always happens more so in groupings, because they need a cheering squad. They need someone to be villain and victim. So they vilify you and they become victims. I'll show you how this looks. When I said these people are drawn to you, what you will see this monster do, or the monster do, is he will or she will mimic stroking your ego and giving you compliments. Hey, yeah, that was a good shot. Oh, that was a good thing you did. Oh, you did well on that training. But you will notice instantaneously that they have just recycled what has already been said to you. They won't even come up in the group setting and give you a compliment. They'll come like minutes later or even the next day and compliment you. Now, sometimes people who are codependent have similarities to narcissists. And I'll show you why, or I'll tell you why briefly, and I've always said it. We, even as empaths, before we knew we were empaths, we were codependent. We had childhood wounds that weren't addressed. We had no clue that these things lingered in our life and made us dependent on other people's approval. And so what I'm saying to you, we begin to mimic narcissistic behavior. So much so, we normalize ignorant behavior. We normalize treating people badly. They deserved it. Serves them right. You know, when we say things like that, that is something that a narcissist would say. Serves them right, good for them. I'm glad when something bad happens. I'm glad. I'm glad it happened. Good for them. Maybe they'll learn their lesson. Let's be careful what we say and how we speak about other people when it doesn't pertain to our own welfare and growth. And even in them cases, when it pertains to our own welfare, most often it's the narcissist. Oh, you can feel a lot of karma for these people, because guess what? It wouldn't be wrong. It would be a healthy way of seeing their demise. And some would say, and may even comment, well, that's hypocritical and contradictory of what you just said. I'll show you why. You may get that illusion of it being contradictory, but I'll show you why it's not. That's kind of like me saying, you know, I wish the devil well. No, I wish the devil hell. That's almost like someone would say, man, you know what? I hope they get some help. Well, there's room for improvement for everybody. There's room for change. We all deserve a second chance. They'll one day, you never know, they might change for the worse, yeah. You talk yourself out of the dichotomy, or not even the dichotomy, wrong word. You talk yourself out of the pathology of who these people are. See, once you know the pathology of who they are, then you go and you try to make excuses and you give room for improvement with these people. It's kind of like you forgot what you know. I'm here to remind you of what you know and stick to what you know. So in your silence, when that person compliments you, you basically gotta almost act as though they didn't say anything. Don't dare say thank you. You can nod your head like, that might not even be a wise thing to do. But you ask, how do you respond to somebody complimenting you when you know they have dark energy? No comment is comment enough. You may say, well, I can't do that. That's hard. That's kind of like insulting. That's kind of like disrespectful. Well, that's what they are. So you have to be the bigger person. This is how you become the bigger person for the long haul. Because trying to be the bigger person, they are allowed a little bit of leverage, little by little, and they chop you down systematically. Because they need you to look to them for everything that you already are well aware that you possess already. It's kind of like Jesus told Satan, hey, if you jump off of that mountain, I'll give you all this stuff you see around you. Jesus said, hey, how are you going to give me something that already belongs to me? Don't tempt the Lord thy God. Don't tempt the empath, you narcissist. Don't tempt the chosen one. Could cause a narcissistic injury. I'm just saying. And I know some of us in our coming out of this craziness, if you're like me, sometimes you say to yourself, man, you want to almost say, and subconsciously you do say it, man, why did I have to end up going through this? Because now I got all of this stuff inside of my head I'm continually always thinking about. Well, some people say you don't believe in the good book. Well, let's talk about, and in disrespect, let's not talk about a good book, but I'll just use emphasis on one thing in the good book. It say, be mindful, do these things, and this is what you will, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, if you do this, you will receive this. If you do that, you will receive that. He said, lean not on your own understanding, but in all things acknowledge me, and I'll direct your path. And every time I don't do that, this is what we end up at. He said, but be of good cheer, I will overcome the world. Abide in me, and I'll abide in you. I'm not churching anybody. This is Bible, to which I believe in. And sometimes we go through so many atrocious situations in our life, we somehow use that as an excuse not to believe that God still exists, because why would he let me go through all of this? More importantly, you shouldn't ask why he allowed you to go through all that. Be grateful for the fact that you came out of it, and not by your own wits or ingenuity. It was him who brought you out of it. All through the good book. This is what happened. People went through hell, but they were able to be victorious because of the fact they never relinquished God's presence in their life. And I totally respect a lot of people here that don't specifically get into religion, myself included. I'm coming more and more apart, or I'm removing myself more and more apart from religion. But I use that word very, very delicately, because religion, when you break the very definition down of religion is basically something that you endorse, embrace wholeheartedly with a determined passion. Football could be your religion. You could be so engulfed in it. So in that respect, religion, that following, the religion for me would be Bible. And if I said Bible, people would say, oh, well, you're a Christian. I'm a follower of Christ. And that's what a Christian is defined as a follower of Christ. I don't walk that back. So if you want to play on words, that's fine. If a person doesn't embrace the book, that's fine for them. If that's what they're fine with, they're comfortable with that. If that's where their peace lies, in not believing something, or even believing something, who am I to say one way or the other? I just know what God's giving me a task. He's given me and equipped me with the tools to complete the task. And waking up from these monsters, man, it wasn't happenstance. You gotta understand this. No matter what you believe, or what religion you believe or don't believe, this didn't happen by happenstance. Because the next time you see an individual pushing a shopping cart down the street and they're talking to themselves, for me, I undeniably have to say to myself, did a narcissist destroy them? In many cases, did somebody destroy the narcissist? Did a narcissist give them their ass on a paper plate? So that silence I'm talking about in the workplace and all those other dynamics I named is what we must master. You can't give your best to the worst of the worst. You harbor and you hoard your goodness, your grace, your empathy. You guard it like it's yours, because it is yours. You don't have to share it with any and everybody. Your intuition before you even come to God is a protective covering. Your intuition, if you don't ever come to God, is your protective covering. Nonetheless, either way you slice it or dice it, intuition is something God has given every human being. He even gave it to the narcissists. But what happened was they began to manipulate life so bad and so severely. It's kind of like they spit in the face of intuition. That's why narcissists do the same dumbass stuff over and over again. Each relationship, you would think, even if they're looking at the channels like this, they would say, man, these people got us down pat. They know us like the back of their hand. Why don't I stop doing this? Understand, they think they're smarter than themselves. Not to mention you, they're smarter than themselves. And that's their deception. They're not outwitting you, they're outwitting themselves. It's like they know something, but they don't embrace it and they don't apply it. Because if they apply any kind of knowledge outside of themselves, other than that autonomous, on the fly, do what feels best for me, if they go outside of that and listen to other sources, that makes them not superior anymore. So that is why they can entertain. Maybe I shouldn't do that. But what they're doing is they're siphoning what they hear, such as how we know them. And they try to construct a strategy like a little kid. Someone, you ever tell your kid, let's play hide and go seek? They don't know how to hide themselves appropriately to the point where an adult would hide himself. Adult can hide himself and he can peek out looking at his little kid, and the little kid don't even see him. But let that little kid go and try to hide themselves. The adult can walk right past them and pretend he doesn't see them, all to make them come out of their hiding place. That's kind of how silence works. Because sometimes when we're speaking, we're concentrated on what we're speaking about. Especially an empath, we're not talking to one person in front of us and looking all around. The narcissist does that. They're looking for validation. We are authentic. When we converse, most often, we are looking at the person, although a lot of us are casually looking around. That's just humanism. You have to be aware of your surroundings. But it's a different thing. It's a different type of observance. We're observing for all the right reasons. We're observing in a healthy way. Believe it or not, when you're silent and walking about your job, doing your job, the narcissist is fixated on you. They're even talking about you intensely. They're making jokes. They're actually even saying, oh, he thinks he's all that. Look at him. He acts as though he don't really, like he don't really care about the job. He looks like he's, like he's big stuff. They're counterfeiting who you really are. You have a healthy amount of confidence. You don't need the validation of other people. You're compliant. You're being subordinate to the powers that be, the people in authority over you. You're not a kiss ass. But the very thing they're doing behind your back to the minion, they're kissing ass. They're trying to extort their favor, extort these people's kindness or their allegiance to them. And what I mean by extort it, the minion has no idea that he's being extorted. His energy is being extorted. Because the narcissist is saying bad things about that empath and getting how that minion feels about getting feedback from the minion as to how the minion feels about that empath, and what that narcissist will remind the minion of once they start to waking up to the reality that that person that they were thinking negative of is not really that bad. And if they speak back to the narcissist and say, well, I don't think he's that bad. Oh man, remember what you said? You remember you told me he was you remember you told me XYZ. She goes down and she does this. When she ain't working here, she goes down and does this over there. Just a slew of things. That's the extortion. The narcissists remind weak-minded people of what you said about the person. And so they cloud you so much so till you don't dare say, oh, well, you said you just can't get enough of that person's name out of your mouth. Speaking of the narcissist, the minion will never get the backbone and just write their line in the sand. This is why it's so powerful, these monsters, how they can just do so much catastrophic damage to one person, because they're not doing it single-handedly. They're recruiting other people to do the bidding. You feed them out of a long-handled spoon if you have to feed them, the narcissist. You don't feed the animals like the sign is clearly displayed at the zoo, because you might not get your hand back. I don't care how adorable a rattlesnake look. Admire it through the cage. Matter of fact, resist admiring it, even though that's a creature of nature, out in nature. Not in nature. That's a creature out in nature. People domesticate wild animals. It's almost like domesticating the narcissist. You can't bring them in your house expecting them to comply and do the things that you as a human being do, like pick up their garbage or cook a meal without putting something in it and contaminating it for you and the family. Make you sick so they can be the one that nurses you back to health, not knowing that they're the very ones who made you sick. I remember when the narcissist was on their way out of my life, when I had already, the jig was up, reached out to her brother in order for her to leave. I didn't tell her she was a narcissist. Indirectly, I got the knowledge ASAP. I embraced it, I absorbed it, because months before I had gotten the knowledge, I was asking her on a regular basis, I need you to leave. You got some demonic activities in and around you. I don't understand it, don't care to. That was my war cry right there. And once I connected with the information of what I didn't understand, it made perfect sense. So it wasn't it didn't take me, it didn't take a lot for me to get through to me. So reached out and told a brother. Actually, I shared a video with him in my car on Bluetooth, and I've mentioned this before. And it was the Little Shaman. I will never forget it. I had forgotten who exactly it was, because Little Shaman, I don't know if you subscribe to her channel, the Little Shaman. I think I've seen a picture of her or her in person, but I've never really heard her talk visually, because it was almost like Narc Survivor. So wow, about a year before I ever saw his face. And he had some eerie background noise. It was like, man, looking back at it, I'm like, why did I never just like tune out and go away from that channel? I was more concentrated on what he was saying as opposed to the background noise. It was something like out of a horror movie. But I don't know why he came up with that, man, but it was a success. Good backdrop music. So, yeah, interesting. Narc Survivor. 100, bro. So anyway, I got the information, told a brother, or let him listen to the video. On and on and on. Eventually, the roach went away. And so, I never got a Hoover, never got any of that. 3 years. Never had a triangulation situation. In fact, they ran into us a couple of times. We were sitting at Panera's outside and eating outside, and they drove up and parked almost directly in front of us where we were sitting. But they didn't know we were there until they actually parked. And they sent their autistic kid in to get the food. She pulled in the pickup parking. That's her big thing. She's always going to the pickup. She won't get her lazy ass out of the car for nothing. The liquor store had a pickup, she'd do that. Medicating her demonic demons with wine. Yeah, I can go all over the place with that. But you'll find, and I'm only throwing these things out there because some of you are actually dealing with a person that is consumed by one or two or many different things. They can't keep their eye on the road, if you will, because they're into this, they're into that. Oh, I need this for that. I need this for that. They're doing so much, man. It's mind-boggling. And you get involved with them and you say, man, I didn't realize they was. And if you're like me, you start mentioning this stuff. And you say, I didn't know you drank that much wine, man. I think you're an alcoholic. And like, no, I just have, and I thought you told me you just had a glass when you take your bath, your bubble bath. We'll lock the door and stay in there almost 2 hours. Now we know they're texting, they're drinking their wine, they're celebrating their victory in getting you as the crash dummy while they're yet texting and lining up more bowling pins to knock down. It was interesting though, later after she left, or hadn't left, but her brother went back and told her that in whatever way he told her, he knows something, or I don't know how the narcissist family gets the word back to him. I don't know if they say, well, you know what, he knows you're a narcissist. I doubt that. They talk in codes like, I think you should go. He's talking crazy, showing me videos of stuff about this, that, and other. They may stop short of calling the word because they're unaware. If they're unaware, he might have mentioned the word. And then when he mentioned the word, it's all downhill from there. Trash took itself out. But my point, I looked into the door, the keyhole of the bathroom. This is full disclosure. And I even told my daughter at the time, I just say, shh. Because I didn't want them to think Daddy's weird. Weird now, peeking through the peephole. Because they knew. I told them. I let them listen to videos. So they could understand this. And I encourage you, parents, don't try to explain this to your children initially. If you've been going through some hell by way of the partner that you're involved with, especially in an intimate relationship, allow them to listen to a video of sorts that cuts to the core, doesn't vilify or exonerate anyone, but it gives a clear start definition of who and the behavior of these people are. Something that you believe that they will be able to comprehend. And so they were aware. So when I peeked into the bathroom, lo and behold, I noticed she had her phone like this. Whole upper half of her body was exposed. And she was just, you know what that looks like. She was snapping them fast as she could, sending them. So she had to overload this potential nuisance.